Hey,
everybody.
how y'all doing?
Okay, for some reason my there we go. Sorry.
Are
I
working?
had I had the YouTube showing up on it was playing still on my end too. So sorry about that.
How's it going,
Anyways,
everybody?
welcome everybody. Thank you all so much for joining. My name is Carrie and this is Dale. Oh, over
Hello.
here. I always do that backwards. And this is Dale. We are the creators of the Seed to Spoon app. We're really excited to be here with you guys today. We started growing. Oh my goodness, it's like almost 11 years now, isn't it? Whew,
Yeah. Wow.
wow. So yeah, wow. Almost 11 years ago, we started growing our own food and started with knowing nothing pretty much. I mean, we had to learn how to do everything along the way. And we went from a standard Oklahoma backyard, that's our backyard back 11 years ago, whenever we first started. And then we transformed it over a couple of years into just a huge amount of food and flowers and herbs and all of that. And we had to learn so much along the way. But we were like, we really wish that there was an app for that. And we were like, we're going to create one and we're going to help everybody else that wants to do what we did, you know? Yeah. So I'm really excited to be here and hang out with you guys today. It's great. I see a lot of you in the chat already. Hi, everybody.
If you're new here, we do this every Tuesday. We do a live stream where we talk about something topical. We answer your questions. We always have a giveaway as well. We've got a really good community here of a lot of people that have been here for years now at this point. So it's a lot of fun. Make
Yeah.
friends in the chat, introduce yourself, let us know where you're trying to garden from. We are in Oklahoma in Zone 7. So right in the middle of the country, we kind of get all of the seasons sometimes in the same week. A couple weeks ago, we had 80 degrees one day and then like 28 degrees the next day. So our allergies are always in chaos. It's a pretty chaotic place to grow. So, but we're
Yeah.
happy to be here today. We're going to talk all about growing this year. So if you are new to growing, and or even if you're not new to growing, I think this will still be helpful. This is basically if someone came up to me and said, "Hey, I've decided this is going to be the year I grow food. What do I need to know about what I'm going to be doing this year?" This is what I would tell you. So before we get into it, though, we do have a giveaway from last week. So the way that this works is during the live stream. If you leave a comment, you're entered to win right here, right now in this live stream. And then after this goes up to YouTube, you can, if you're watching after the fact, you're still not out of it. You can leave a comment there, and we announce the winner from a comment from before here at the beginning of the live stream. So
Well, if we are doing that, then we will start that this week
no,
because
that all right.
we did not announce that last week and we did not do that. But yeah,
Sorry.
we can absolutely do that for everybody, especially for something for one of these for everybody wanting to get
Yeah.
started. I think it's a great idea to do a giveaway after the fact too. So
Yeah. I always watch when I watch stuff like this. I never really get to watch it live. I'm always doing other stuff, and then I watch
oh,
it. It sucks I missed out. So, yeah. So anyway, are we ready to jump in?
yeah,
And
let's do
awesome,
it.
let's do it. So again, this is if you want to grow food this year. This is basically a lay of the land of what you need to know. Real quick too on the giveaway that we're doing. So what you get is you get a 1 year free premium app subscription to our app that gives you all the benefits over here listed up on the screen. You get unlimited plants, unlimited interactions with Growbot, our AI chatbot, where you can take pictures of plants and bugs and find out what they are and what to do about them. You get free shipping on every order from Park Seed, which is huge. You can buy all of your seeds and accessories and everything and not have to pay any shipping. And all the other benefits you see here as well. And we'll also a pack of seeds of your choosing as well. So that's what we're giving away today. Just leave a comment and you'll be entered to win. Okay, so let's jump in and talk about growing food overall. And the way that you need to understand some of this is plants all have different requirements of what they like to grow in. There are some plants that like it better in cool weather and shorter days, and there's some plants that like it better in hot weather and longer days. So as we go through the year, just understand that there's going to be a difference between the types of plants you can grow in different seasons, and you really want to stick to growing what's in season at that time. You really don't have a choice for the most part. You kind of have to. So
And I will say, if you don't already have the Seed to Spoon app, scan this QR code right here and you can download it now, and it will help make all of this a lot easier too. And it'll show you what plants are what. Like if it is a warm season, if it's a cool season, you can break it down and only show warm season or cool season. I mean, I can here, let me show you guys really quick here. So if you come into here into growing guides, it shows all of the different plants that we have. But if you want to see like just cool season, if you're planning ahead for the cool season, you can just scroll through and see just all of the cool season. So it kind of helps you put things into perspective. You know which plants grow better in cool season versus warm season. So. Plus, we all there. Each one is going to have exact planting dates too. So it'll show you like the planting calendar here and which ones you can start right now. And it's all based on your current location too. So you don't have to do any math or anything like that, which, yeah, always for me.
yeah, when we started building this app, that was one of the reasons why we wanted to build it, to make it easier for us to keep track of when we're supposed to start different things and keep track of growing them along the way and all of that. So we built it for us. Carrie still uses probably the heaviest user of the app. So we still use it every day.
Yeah, I do. I'm not even exaggerating. Like every single day I am in the app doing something. And yeah, I'm in there just as much, if not more than you guys.
Okay, so let's kind of walk through the year and go through the opportunities you're going to have in each season and some of the challenges you're going to face. And as we go throughout the year, we will do longer sessions where we deep dive on these things and talk a lot more about it. But I just really want to give you the lay of the land of what you're looking for, of what you're going to be looking at over kind of the course of a year. So in the early spring, this is probably my favorite time to grow. This and fall, and for the same reasons, because all the stuff you see on the screen right now is the stuff that I like to grow the most: lettuce, cilantro, spinach, broccoli, peas, root crops. Those are all the things you're going to be growing in the spring, and they love the cooler weather. In fact, they taste better in cool weather. If you've ever had lettuce that tasted horrible, it may have been harvested when it was warm outside. As it gets colder, the greens will actually sweeten up. Kale and spinach especially will do this. So early spring is an awesome time to be growing food. You also don't have nearly as many pests, and we'll get into that in a bit, but it's nothing like the summer. It's just a really fun time to grow. It's, you're coming out of winter where everything has been dead and there's no green anywhere, and then suddenly some of those first like spinach leaves out of the garden just really, it's an awesome part of life, not just from the food perspective, but from like the mental health side of it and all of that. It's just nice to experience life like that early in the spring. So most of these things are pretty easy to grow. Peas are especially easy to grow, and they will climb anything. So if you have a fence line or something like that, sprinkle some peas along them. Again, we'll get into the weeds on all of these throughout the year, but this is what you're looking at for early spring. And some of these things are going to be more economical to grow than others. Something like spinach or lettuce, I feel silly ever buying it from the store now, because I know that for a couple dollars, I can have a pack of seeds that's going to have hundreds of lettuce plants that I can harvest off of for a long time. And the cool thing about the way that a lot of these greens grow is once you harvest leaves, they grow more. So if you've heard of like cut and come again with lettuce, that's what that means, is like the lettuce in the top left there. That's a good candidate of one that you could just come snip it at the base, harvest the whole plant, and then it will regrow several times. Basically, it'll keep regrowing until it gets to the point where it's too hot for it. So depending on where you live, that could be deep into the summer. Here, it's not very long before we were out of time on growing greens. So, and yeah, if we have any questions or anything that pop up, Carrie, I think let's go ahead and pop them up as we're going through. We can go ahead and answer them.
Yeah, we got so I mean, we've got a few different questions about like what do we need to even get started growing some of
Yeah.
these plants here in the early spring.
Yeah. So let's touch on that briefly, and we'll do a deep dive on how to get started with like building out a full garden. If you're new to garden, I really recommend starting with container gardening, and starting with smart pots. So smart pots are these fabric raised beds that we carry. They're actually made here in Oklahoma. We're good friends with the people over there at Smart Pots, and really believe in their product. We first found them pretty early on when we started gardening because I was trying to grow in containers and it did not go well. And I was at a nursery one day and they had a lot of plants in these smart pots. And that's when I first learned about them. They were used by tree growers, and nurseries and things like that. And they do a much better job than containers because whenever the roots hit the side, instead of circling around, they stop and they continue to bring in air, and they're much easier to water. You can just put them like in a kiddie pool or something like that, or some sort of tray, and you can water them that way. Um, Really big believers in them. So pretty much all you need is some of those smart pots, and you can go get some soil from the store. You can also make your own and save money. We've got a lot of videos where we've covered how to do that. So we won't go into that here, but that's an option as well. But just fill a smart pot with some soil and download our app and pick the plant you want to grow. And then our app will walk you through everything else. So it's just going to be all of these plants are going to be just directly from seed, and it's very simple, with the exception of a lot of times we will start broccoli inside in the spring, in the early spring, and then transplant it outside, or like you can buy it from a nursery, just because broccoli does take a little bit longer to grow than some of these other things. So it's good to give it a head start. And then most people with onions will buy what are called sets, or what's the other term? Onion sets and onion. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I forget right now. But the little bundles of onions, and you'll see them oftentimes for sale. We sell those as well, at Park Seeds. So that's typically how you're going to be growing all of these. I will say for something like carrots or anything that has small seeds like that you have to thin down, I really recommend going with seed tape. It makes it so much easier. And at Park Seed, we have a So Effortless collection of seed tapes and seed discs and mats, where it's basically a piece of paper that has all the seeds embedded in it that you can just lay out on the screen. Carrie, do you have one you can pull up, like a picture of one or a QR code of one maybe that we have set up?
I don't, but I'm grabbing a QR code.
So that makes it a lot easier to do root crops. But enjoy the early spring, because it's some of the easiest gardening you're going to get. You're not going to have some of the other problems like weeds and bugs that we'll talk about here in a bit. So let's go to the next slide and talk about what some of the challenges are.
Well, I will say we did get a few questions real quick about spinach and lettuce in particular.
I love
Difficulty
spinach.
with those
Talk
ones.
about spinach. Spinach is one of the things that really got me hooked on gardening, because we were going to the store and spending $10 a week probably on bags of lettuce, and then so some of it would end up going bad, and it just felt like a waste. And when I learned how cheaply you could grow spinach, that was one of the things that kind of first got me into gardening. And then once I like tasted a spinach leaf out of the garden for the first time, that was like a wow moment, because it tasted so much different and it looked so much different and felt so much different than any other spinach leaf I had seen before. All the spinach I bought before was just very thin and just like almost feels like fake spinach compared to real spinach once you grow it, because
That's very true.
spinach out of your garden has like just much thicker, and it has these textures, and every variety has like a subtly different flavor and a different purpose as well. So we have some spinach we grow to be very large, and other spinach that we grow to be smaller, more for salads. And the large ones we'll use as a tortilla replacement. So a lot of different purposes for them. Do we have any other specific questions on spinach that we can pop up?
Just a general difficulty with getting it to grow.
Gotcha. It can be difficult to get it started. You gotta the way that we look at spinach and a lot of our greens is I'm going to be planting new rounds of it every week. Um, Starting out, honestly, we could start doing it here pretty soon with the weather we have in Oklahoma right now.
I
Typically,
know it's hard to believe we're almost there.
I think we could go ahead and start now. Um, and I'm going to start a new round every couple weeks because you really got to time it right. If it gets too hot, then it'll prevent it from germinating and going. Now, once you get it going, it's pretty much pretty easy to grow. It's going to want some nitrogen. Everything on here is gonna enjoy some nitrogen. We use a lot of fish fertilizer for that, or Epsoma fertilizers as well. We use all organic fertilizers because the few times I have tried to use chemical fertilizers, I've done too much and I've burned things. It's just that's one of the. There's a lot of reasons why I go with organic fertilizers, but I will mess it up if we can go with chemical fertilizers. I will get in a hurry and overdo it. And with organic fertilizers, you really can't overdo it. So it just makes it a lot easier, a lot more foolproof, and it's going to be better nutrients for your plants. It's going to be better overall for your plants and for your soil and for all sorts of stuff. So and just it's just easier. So,
Um,
um,
and then we did get a question about she was saying it's the timing that I always get wrong when planting cold
yeah,
season
well,
crops.
I have to get the timing right on some of these because, like with lettuce, if it gets too cold, it won't do well. With spinach, if it gets too hot, like that's why I'm doing new rounds every week because I can't predict what the weather is going to be or control it at all. So it's going to be, um, it's going to be pretty unpredictable here in the early spring. And like I said, we're going to cycle from 80 to 20, and it's just going to be wild. So we're going to be planting stuff every week or every 2 weeks until we get to the end of our window. So during this entire window here, or the outdoor spring window, we're going to be starting. And this is broccoli, where we're not really starting it outside. We're doing that more of like an inside one. Go to spinach if you can, and let's look at that. And so from the time the window the season opens here, so from February 3rd all the way, I guess February 20th is when we can put it outside. So from February 20th until April 3rd, I'm going to do a new round every week or two. Um,
Hmm.
until we're at the end of that. And this year I'm going to start early because a lot of it's dependent on the weather and what's going on. Um, I'll start these early, probably early February. We'll get started with our spinach, just depending on when I get my gardens all ready, which is another story. So, um,
But
okay.
yeah, I do want to call out like this makes it so easy too. So you don't have to even worry about the timing. And there's reminders too that you can set in the app. Like it'll send you reminders every Sunday of things that you can plant now. So that just helps to make it way easier for you.
And we also have in here all the details about how to grow it. So if you go to the care details section, we can show them all the information that you would want to know about it, and also the smart pot that we recommend. So container size, that's going to correlate to the size of smart pot we recommend going with it. Everything you need to know about how to grow it is right here, including um, the companions and the varieties and then all of that we have. Okay, so let's move on to early spring challenges now. So one of the biggest challenges, like we talked about, is just the unpredictability of the weather. A couple things you can do to really help out here um, are to provide coverings for your plants. So we've had a ton of videos about PVC hoop houses that we've done and row covers and things like that. So these are the PVC dome hoop houses that we've built, and we've got a mixture of different coverings that go on these. So some of them are going to be clear plastic sheeting for the early spring, and then we'll switch to insect netting as it gets a little warmer. You can actually see there's two different types in here, but it's probably hard to see from this photo. So this is a huge thing that you can do to help you grow in the early spring and to protect your plants from the cold and just keep it more regulated. So that will definitely help out a lot. It'll extend your season by at least 2 to 3 weeks by doing something like that and make it to where you can plant out even earlier. Um, there's not going to be quite as many bugs, but you will start to see some of these green caterpillars in the early spring. that'll be your main nemesis, and perhaps some aphids too. Those will be the first two pests that you start to deal with, but they're very manageable. You can buy caterpillar spray, which is completely organic, and you spray it on your leaves. And when the caterpillars eat them, it kills them via or organic processes. It's not like a chemical process or anything like that. So um, we've used that in the past. You can also just spray aphids off. You can hand pick caterpillars. You can offer your little kids a quarter for every caterpillar that they pick, and that gets them in the garden and makes it fun for them. Depending on how many how many caterpillars you have, you might have to do a dime or something. I'll let you figure out the economics, but we've done that. This is the caterpillar spray. Excuse me. That we've used in the past that we've talked about as well. So, growing in the early spring, pretty simple. Not near as many challenges as some of these other seasons we're going to get into. So let's go ahead and go into what's going to be next, which is just spring. So this is when you probably used to growing. This is around the time everybody's thinking about gardening. We're looking at March to April here, and or really more of like April to May. And this is where you're getting all of the things in the ground that are able to, or do not tolerate the cold. So what you're going to have a frost date for your area. That's probably something you've heard of. You have a last frost date and a first frost date. So your first frost date is going to be in the spring. I'm sorry, in the fall. That's like the first time that it gets cold and freezes. And your last frost date is going to be a spring date, and that is the last time that it gets cold enough to freeze. Which a lot of these plants you see on here can't handle that, so they would die. Things like tomatoes and peppers and cucumbers, squash cannot handle the cold. So you have to wait until after that last frost in order to get these out. This is where you're going to be planting a bulk of the things that you can grow. You can still continue to grow things from the early spring too, especially things like lettuce. And if you're in a temperate area and your spring doesn't jump into 90 degrees immediately like ours does, you can still get away with growing things like spinach. But this is where the bulk of your growing is going to be. Now, this is also, let's go ahead and go to the challenges, and we may come back to this one if we have questions on plants. But I think this leads into the bulk of the growing is also happening for all the weeds in your garden and all the weeds around your garden too. So that's whenever one of the big challenges starts to come in, is having to manage weeds. So anything that you can do before that time to get ahead of it will really pay off. So in the early spring, we're doing a lot of getting all the weeds around the garden pulled up then before they come back. For the ones from the past year, we're laying down fresh mulch. We're doing all the things we can do to try and help with the weeds around the garden. And then also the garden beds themselves, I'm doing things like taking a propane torch and going over and burning like the whole top layer of soil to burn off some of the weed seeds and some of the pest eggs and stuff like that too. So there's a
One
lot.
of the things that we've done for helping with weeds is simply just taking like cardboard, especially this time of year when we get a lot of packages delivered. We just take the big pieces of cardboard, lay them down wherever we have weed issues, and then put some mulch on top of that. And it will really help to like suffocate out all of your weeds that you have.
Yeah, and if Santa brought you a trampoline also, then you probably got a big box. So that like the big boxes from Christmas time, this is a great use for it. I've always got friends that have got like boxes piled up that I'm taking from them and bringing over. So we have these giant TV boxes and stuff like that to be able to lay down in the garden. So that helps out a ton. The bugs are also going to start really coming out fast and furious in the spring too. So that's one of the big challenges of gardening, is just keeping up with all the bugs and keeping them off your plants. Things like aphids, caterpillars, slugs, cucumber beetles, squash bugs. There's a lot of them, and our app makes it easy to know which one you're dealing with, because you can take a picture of it with Growbot and it'll tell you what it is and how to manage it. And we also have pages that are set up where we've given all the information that we have about each one of these pests and all the ways that we manage them as well. So if you go into the critter section here, it's a list of all the main pests you're going to deal with in the garden. And if we tap on one of them, it will take you into a page where it'll tell you how to handle it and how to manage it. So, um, yeah,
Somebody was
pest.
asking about how about landscape fabric?
We have a love-hate relationship with landscape fabric. In the past, we used some very cheap landscape fabric, and it was very frustrating, especially like a year after, because when you tried to get it up, it would just come up in these small pieces, and you're left with these tiny pieces of landscape fabric everywhere, and it's just kind of a mess. Um, as I've toured more farms over the years, I've seen more and more farms that have these heavy duty landscape fabric down, and we tried that last year, and it actually worked out pretty well. We still had some weed issues.
Yeah, we
Um,
had weeds just going like literally just growing right through it. And I'm like, how did this even happen? But it makes it easier to pull them too, though, because they're like centralized right there and I can pull them easier. But I mean, it definitely does suffocate most of them, but it's not going to be a be all and end all solution, unfortunately.
yeah, but if you're gonna go with landscape fabric, go with like the industrial commercial grade, like super high quality stuff, and um, don't necessarily like lay. One mistake we made with it was we put down mulch on top of it as well. That ended up being a mistake because there were a lot of tree seeds and stuff like that that were just germinating right there in the mulch and growing in the mulch and other weeds and stuff that came over. So what we've done at this point is we're clearing everything off of that industrial landscape fabric that we have. And we're just going to leave it to where it's just out. We're growing like smart pots on top of it, pretty much, is what we're doing over on there on that side. But in our traditional garden, where it's wooden raised beds and all of that, um, we're not really using the landscape fabric as much over there. And we've always had success with just going with cardboard and wood chips. The problem is just the weeds that are flying in from everywhere, especially where we live. We're on 5 acres and there's stuff everywhere. So it's very difficult to keep the weeds out. We had a much easier time of it when we lived in the city and we could control a little better what all was around us. So this is again where the PVC dome hoop houses can help a lot, because if you have any of the coverings over there, like even if it's just the breathable mesh cloth that keeps seeds and all that from blowing in your garden, um, and really just stay on top of weeds. Like make it a routine to go out every week and check your beds for weeds, and maybe divide and conquer your beds where you do, you know, 2 beds every couple of days or something like that. But it can get out of hand in a hurry, and then that is a terrible feeling as a gardener, to look out and see your garden just overgrown with weeds. So, um, okay, so that leads us into summer, which is pretty similar to spring, except we're going to start to deal with a couple other factors, and you're also going to get more opportunity to grow pretty much any heat loving thing you want at this point. Um, if you are in an area that gets really hot, like we are, you're actually going to deal with too much heat. Believe it or not, like things like tomatoes don't actually do well if they get too much sun. So you're going to want to do things like have shade coverings for the hottest parts of the afternoon and stuff like that. There are plenty of crops though that absolutely love the heat: okra, sweet potatoes, watermelon, cucumber. All of those do really well in the heat. Um, but summer can be a really fun time to grow. It's also for us traditionally, it can be a difficult time to grow because we don't have as much time necessarily on the weekends to be out in the garden, because we're doing a lot of like going to the lake with the family and doing stuff like that. Whereas in the spring, we're spending more time around home. So in the summer is really like when you need to start thinking about things like automated irrigation and or just having, and it doesn't have to be elaborate. It can just be um, a soaker hose you have in your garden bed, a hose running over to it, hooked up to a cheap timer you have hooked up to your outlet. Like it can be something real simple like that. Or you can get real complicated and have it all controlled by like an app and stuff like that. We've kind of gone both ways. Um, yeah, so you can there's a lot of different ways to do it. Other challenges of the heat is lack of pollinators. So the pollinators, if you don't have water around your garden, you're not going to have as many around. Also, just the heat in general can keep some of them away. So um, challenges again with bugs, like squash bugs are just going to be your absolute nemesis in the summer. They're very difficult to manage. It's a lot of strategies that you can go into play there. Like you can um, rotate things around your garden. Again, we'll get into this, but when it's time for you to actually plant all this stuff, we'll be there for you. We'll tell you how to do it. But this is what you're going to need to know kind of going into it for the year. Carrie, what else am I forgetting for the summer? What else do we need to tell them?
Well, we didn't touch on like fertilizing or anything yet because I know we do a lot of things, especially for tomatoes, which is why I put the tomato tone espoma fertilizer here. Like especially our tomatoes and peppers and eggplants and things like that. We're always adding some additional espoma fertilizer and fresh compost and things like that whenever we're freshening up for the season because you want to make sure that the soil is good. Because if your soil's not good, you're not going to get a good harvest. So that's always something big right there too.
That picture you have of bolting too. So that's another thing we need to talk about is when some plants, when it gets too hot, they're going to start bolting. So that means that if it's lettuce, for example, instead of producing a bunch of like leaves like you're used to, it's going to produce a center stalk that gets really tall, and then all of the seeds, or there's actually flowers it produces, and then those flowers turn into seeds. And at that point, the lettuce is super bitter. Cilantro will do this. A lot of other plants will do this. So um, you're going to want to think about where you have on your property or around your house that gets shade in the afternoon and utilize that for this time of the year, which is an important thing to note now. As you're planting your garden, you really need to be thinking about your yard and sunlight and really observing how sunlight changes throughout the day and also throughout the seasons. We did not plan for this very well in our first garden, actually, and we had to adjust. I'm going to pull up a picture of this garden so you can see. So that's me. This picture shows it better. Okay, so this was our first garden, and when we first built those garden beds right there, it was April, and they got sunlight all day. Um, and then once we hit October, the sun angle had changed to where it was on the other side of the fence enough that it was shaded most of the day, and it didn't really get any sun. And that wasn't something that we had factored in the beginning. So think about your property, where your gardens are going to be, and what the sunlight's going to be throughout the year, and understand that in the summer you're going to really like having an area that gets shaded in the afternoon, that morning sun, and then by the time it's 2 or 3 in the afternoon, it's in the shade.
And I do want to say, like, making sure you stay up on top of watering and fertilize. Like, it can be challenging too, but I do want to point out, like, you can come into the app and into these right here. Here, let me go into one of mine that I've been making notes. Like, you can tap into one of your plants that you have on your visual garden layout, and you can see like all of the events. So I can look in and see, oh, when was the last time I watered? When did I last fertilize? Things like that. So it makes it a whole lot easier. And we did have a question too about vermiculite that I know you can answer
Yeah,
for.
so vermiculite is one of the ingredients that goes into our DIY soil mix. So if you've ever seen those little white flecks that are in soil, that's vermiculite. And it's actually a rock that is mined and then heated up until it explodes. And then once it explodes, it turns into that little spongy looking thing. So it's something completely natural. There's also perlite that's used. I don't like it as much. Um, I found much more success with vermiculite. And what it does is it soaks in all of the water whenever you water it, and then it will release it slowly like a sponge. So it's just a regulator for your soil. It'll help prevent you from overwatering, and then it'll also help whenever it starts to get dry. It'll be almost like a reservoir for water all throughout your garden. So the more that you can use, the better. It can be expensive. Typically, when we're making our own soil mix, we're buying giant bags of it for $40 or $50 a piece for those big bags, but we're able to make a lot of soil from it. So if you're interested in making your own soil, just check out our YouTube channel and search for DIY soil. We have a lot of videos about it. So, and we'll be covering it again as we get through the spring. We'll be making more batches and showing more. So, right along. Okay, so we've made it through summer. Now we're back into fall, and fall is again one of my favorite times to grow because of we're back into growing the greens again, which are just honestly my favorite thing to grow. It's pretty much the same list you have from the spring. Now, there's going to be more pests than the spring still, but the pests are starting to die off, and they're not quite as many. You're also dealing with shorter days, which can be a benefit on some of these plants. But if you've built your garden in an area that again gets shade in the afternoon, you're going to start thinking about, well, now I need that afternoon sun, in the fall. So that's where it's helpful to have gardens that are kind of spread across your property in different places. Um, you're also going to be dealing with colder temperatures coming in randomly. So that's where the PVC domes can help out again, because it can help regulate temperatures and do all the things it did for you in the early spring. And usually we're not using these that much in the summer, but we have them on in the spring, and then again in the fall, and then over the winter. Um, Pests again are still going to be in play, but they're not going to be as bad. Um, so some of these things for the fall, you're going to want to start indoors in the summer, or at least know that you're going to need to get a transplant for, like broccoli. That's something that we're starting indoors in July and August, and then transplanting outside once we get to usually like the end of September, early October is when it's finally cool enough to plant it out here where we are. But it's pretty much all the same stuff that you were growing in the spring. A big difference for us though in the fall is there's much more of a focus on preservation and getting ready for winter, because even in the fall we still have tomatoes and peppers and all of that are growing. They're going to keep growing until we get to our first frost, which in Oklahoma is typically about October 15th or so. It'll be different in your area, and all that's calculated for you in the app. But this is where you're probably going to be thinking a lot more about how to preserve stuff, and this can get really fun. There's a lot of ways that we've learned how to preserve that we had no idea about before we grew food. And Carrie has a ton of videos and also recipes and things like that in the app, because that's a big part of it too, is learning how to actually use all this food that you grow and how to cook with it. And we've spent over 10 years now trying to figure out how to make all this stuff taste good. So if you go to like summer squash, zucchini, for example, she's got a
My
ton of.
favorite, so I always go to it.
Yeah, so all of these are recipes that link to our blog and website, and we've got videos and all of that kind of stuff. Um, so yeah, but preservation can be a lot of fun. Um, we'll usually have 10 to 20 jars of peppers, of pickled peppers in our pantry from this time of year, and frozen peppers and all sorts of stuff like that. So this is where you can really, and obviously you're harvesting all throughout the year, but we really start thinking about preservation once we get to the end of the year, and we know that, okay, well, this is about to be over, and we need to find a way to keep all this food going. So um, garlic is one big difference here, though, that I want to shout out for the fall. Like if you want to grow garlic, garlic is pretty unique in that it needs to go through a winter of being really cold in order to grow properly in the spring. So it's one of the plants that you actually will plant around October, September, October, and then let it grow for a little bit, and then it'll go dormant over the winter, and then we'll come back in the spring and you'll harvest in around May or June. So that's one big shout out here that's different in the fall. But otherwise, it's mostly the same things that you were growing in the spring. What's the next slide after challenges here? Do we have another one on preservation? Cool. So I think that pretty well covers like an overall summary of what you're looking at for like the overall year. Some things we did not touch on here that I want to circle back to. Fruit. So I know this is a big topic, where people want to know how to grow their own fruit. I recommend starting with strawberries. They are the easiest fruit to grow. Something like apples or are going to be. It's going to take a lot longer to get fruit off of them, and they can be a little more difficult, and they require more space. Strawberries you can grow in the ground, or we love growing strawberries in the green stalk, which is a vertical tower that we carry in our store, where it's 7 layers. I think Carrie's pulling up a picture of one. This is a green stalk here. Oh, look at that. It's even strawberries in it.
Yep, I
Nice.
had to find that one.
Perfect. Yeah, this is a great way to grow strawberries right here. And Park Seed has an awesome selection of strawberries, and they come to you. Like the great thing about the strawberries that we sell is a lot of the times when you buy strawberries from the store, they're only like they're very young strawberry plants, and that first year you really don't get very many off of them. Whereas the strawberries that we sell are much more mature. Like some of these look to be 2 or 3 years old, and you're getting a lot of strawberries that first year that you plant them. So I've noticed a big difference since we switched to using exclusively the strawberries from Park Seed as opposed to the ones that we used to get from the box store or whatever. Um, Potatoes, we also did not talk a lot about. I think we briefly touched on, but that's going to be another like big bang for your buck thing to grow, and something that's very easy to grow, and something that's very fun for your kids to be involved in. We grow potatoes in smart pots, those containers I mentioned earlier, and it's so fun because we'll take that smart pot, dump it out into a wheelbarrow, and then the kids just go through it almost like they're hunting Easter eggs, trying to find potatoes, and they're trying to see who can pull out the biggest one. And the same thing with sweet potatoes too. We've got a really fun video. I don't know if you've got that around of one of our kids pulling out a sweet potato that's giant. It was 6 pounds. We measured it. It was a 6 pound sweet potato.
It was like 1 ounce away from 7 pounds. I was like, that is a baby. It was 6 pounds, 14 ounces, or like something crazy. Yeah.
Another thing I didn't really talk much about are herbs. So we mostly talked about like standard vegetables and fruit here, but herbs are a big reason to grow as well. What we found out pretty early on was we were very excited to grow squash. We were tired of eating squash after like a week of eating it the exact same way every single day. And once we started adding in different herbs, then it really changes the flavor and makes it to where you're excited to eat it again. And it just becomes interesting. Um, and one of the things that Carrie and I think both love about gardening too is just the differences in all the varieties. So with basil, there's probably 14 different types of basil that we grow every year that each have their own flavor, whether it's the cinnamon Thai basil or lemon basil, or there's a basil that's like more of a mild one that's better for sandwiches, the lettuce leaf one, the pesto basils. There's a lot of different types of basils, and we grow pretty much all of them. And that's one of the things that is really nice about starting things from seed and growing stuff yourself too, is you're able to have a lot more variety in what you're choosing and what you're able to grow, versus if you're going to go buy basil from the store, it's going to be Genevieve probably. It's going to be the only one they're going to have, and it's going to be probably $5 for a little pot of one basil, versus you could get for the same price, you could get a pack of seeds of basil. They're going to have, I don't know how many basil seeds are in a pack, but it's a lot and enough to last you a very long time. So, um, yeah, highly encourage you to check out some herbs. Anything that you cook with, try growing that instead. And herbs are very, very easy to grow. Things like oregano are very, very simple. Um, it's one of our favorite things to grow. We had a whole live stream about nothing but herbs a few weeks ago. Um, so go check that one out too, because we talked a lot about herbs on that one. Carrie, what else are we missing? Do we have any other questions we can answer, or anything else we didn't go over as far as like the overall what they're looking at on growing food and what that's going to look like throughout the year?
Somebody was asking, I'm trying to go back. The best way to keep scales off of a lemon tree, and I was pulling up scales in the app, which I could just ask Growbot, but I was looking in here first too under scales. Because I have had that issue with my indoor plants before, and I've just sprayed them with neem oil, and it's worked really well for me in the past. But it looks like, I mean, if it's an indoor plant, you may not want to do like beneficial insects or things like that. But you could also try this alcohol, the diluted alcohol. That's also something you could try out too.
Got a question here I see from Danny about Brussels sprouts. Let me pull this one up. So the question is, I thought Brussels sprouts were just a cool season crop. The app showed how to start planting at the end of July. It's still growing, and it's just showing the buds. So it is a cool season crop. You have to start it in July for the for the fall window. Typically, we're starting that indoors. Now, Brussels sprouts are not something we can really grow easily here in Oklahoma because they require a very long growing window. Can you scroll down and see what is the growing window on it? It's yeah,
Brussels
26 to
sprouts, yeah.
31. So it takes, and once it gets too hot, they don't grow. So we haven't really grown them much here. We probably could if we like try to manipulate the environment, but it's just one of those things that we aren't really growing much here. But you can, if you have a temperate environment, you can definitely do it. And they are a spring crop, so this is one of the ones I would start indoors here in the next few weeks, probably, depending on where you are, and then transplant it outside whenever the app tells you to, basically.
That I liked that Janet brought up. Oh, I tapped on it. There we go. For growing all winter. And I was about to say, well, if you look behind Dale there, that's actually our sunroom. And we have been growing all winter, which is amazing. It is literally just like right off of our kitchen, too. So we can go out there and harvest any food or anything like that we want. And oh, yeah, it's been amazing. So you
It,
can definitely grow food all year long if you want to grow indoors. I mean, I have things growing behind me, too. I have a little tomato plant right here. I have some basil growing right here, and then I have over here. I mean, it's off camera, but I have like a little kitchen mini pepper too. Like I grow a lot of things year round, just indoors, and it's super easy to do too.
yeah, this sunroom has become probably my favorite way to grow. There's way less pests to deal with, and not just like bug pests, but if our we live on a farm and we have goats, and sometimes the goats break out and they go eat all of our green stalks, and it's just always chaos trying to keep them out. So just having like a dedicated space that they can't get to, it's been awesome having all this lettuce behind us. It's my favorite way to grow right now is in this sunroom, and we do have some grow lights in there as well to help out. But things like lettuce, I think the lettuce will do fine in there without the lights, honestly.
Yep. Okay.
Well, do you have a winner drawn?
I do. I was doing that while you were talking. Oh, yes, that's awesome. Donna has some of these kitchen minis too. Yeah, I am a huge fan of all of these little like tomatoes and peppers and yeah,
Yeah, it's so cool.
yeah, it's amazing. Okay, so we're about to draw a winner for this live stream. So this winner is going to win a free 1 year premium Seed to Spoon app subscription. So with that, you will get free shipping on all of your orders through Park Seed. You will have all of your you can do visual garden layouts, unlimited visual garden layouts and gardens, and you can send pictures up to Growbot too, which I know I briefly showed Growbot, but you can ask questions up to Growbot and it will send you answers, or you can send pictures like, what is this bug or what is this plant and all of that. Super helpful. That's one of the things I'm doing in the app every day whenever I go in. So it's definitely helpful. Um, and then also a packet of Park Seed seeds to get you off and started for your year. So congratulations. Oh, I got to pull it back up. Congratulations. And then I can never pronounce names.
Is her name Gwen? The Gweniver? I'm
That's
betting.
that's what I'm gonna go with. Congratulations. Send us an email at info@seedtospoon.net and we will get you all hooked up with your free 1 year premium Seed to Spoon app subscription along with a packet of Park Seed seeds. And then as well too, if you are watching this after the fact, it's not too late. Leave a comment in, and we will draw a winner next week. And like Dale said in the beginning too, we do these every single week, every Tuesday, same time, same place, where we're just kind of hanging out, chatting, gardening, answering questions, and yeah, just hanging out and having fun.
Well, thanks everyone for joining us. It's been fun. I don't know what we're talking about next week yet, but we will announce it before next week. If
I
you
think
have
next week we were just doing the getting started in 4 easy steps. I think we do four. I think we got 4 steps.
sounds good.
Yeah. Sounds good. We will see you all next week. Same time, same place. Bye, everybody.